You know how most of our lives are structured? It's like a song we've heard 1,000 times. There's a familiar rhythm to it. You wake up, you make the coffee, you follow the same group, fed the same conversations or variations of them. The melody is so ingrained that you can hum it in your sleep. You're moving, but it feels like you're standing still because the scenery never really changes. We think transformation is a slow process, that it's a gradual sunrise where the light slowly bleeds into the sky and you only realize it's day long after it's happened. But that hasn't been my experience. For me, it happened in a single day. The day everything changed. It wasn't a dramatic, cinematic day. There was no crash, no explosion, no telegram with life-altering news. It was a Tuesday. The coffee tasted the same. The sky was the same unremarkable shade of gray. But somewhere between the breath I took when I woke up and the one I took standing at the window that afternoon, the axis of my world shifted. It was a quiet, internal event. A single clear thought that arrived not as a whisper, but with the weight of an absolute truth. It was the thought, this story I've been telling myself. And it's just a story, and I am the one who's been telling it. It was like I had been living in a house my whole life, and in one moment, I realized I wasn't just a tenant, I was the architect. And I saw with terrifying clarity that a single supporting wall, the one I thought was holding everything up, wasn't load-bearing at all. It was just a prop, a staged flat. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That was the day the narrative broke. The day the familiar song stopped mid-note. In that silence, something else became audible. It was the sound of my own agency. It was the realization that I wasn't trapped by the path I was on. I was just in the habit of walking it. Everything looked the same from the outside. But inside, the entire landscape was different. The fears that had felt like stone walls were suddenly just fog. The obligations that had felt like chains were just choices I kept making. The future, which had felt like a predetermined destination on a map, was suddenly a blank page. We are conditioned to believe that meaningful change is a slow, arduous process akin to the erosion of stone by dripping water. We are told that transformation requires years of therapy, a meticulously followed 5-year plan, or the gradual accumulation of small habits. We brace ourselves for a long uphill journey, measuring our progress in inches and often growing discouraged by the seeming lack of it. This paradigm, while comforting in its linearity, is often a myth that keeps us trapped. It creates a safe buffer of someday, allowing us to postpone the terrifying responsibility of immediate change. The profound truth is that the most significant shifts in a human life are not always gradual. They can be instantaneous. A paradigm shift is not a physical journey from one city to another. It is the sudden, irreversible understanding that the map you've been using is wrong. This does not take time. It takes a single blinding moment of clarity. Your entire perception of reality, your past, your present, your future can reorganize itself around a new central truth in the space of a single breath. The coffee still tastes the same. The gray sky is still gray. That the meaning of it all has been utterly transformed. The prison you inhabited a moment ago is revealed to have never had a locked door. You were simply leaning against it, believing it to be immovable. This instantaneous nature of change is both its terror and its grace. It is terrifying because it removes all excuses. If everything can change in a day, then the power to change it was always yours to wield. There is no one to blame for your continued stasis. Not your upbringing, not your circumstances, not a lack of time. The grace, however, is that you are never as far from freedom as you think. You are not sentenced to a long, slow march toward a distant possibility. Liberation is available to you now, in this very moment. It waits only for your perception to catch up to the reality that the walls were made of fog all along. The slow and steady work we so often champion is not the change itself. It is the work of fortifying the new territory once the initial explosive insight has already occurred. It is building a life upon the new solid ground you discovered in that one cataclysmic moment of understanding. Do not wait for a slow sunrise. Be open to the lightning strike. The day everything changes, not a date on a calendar in the distant future. It is any day you choose to truly see the world, and your place in it for the first time. We live inside the architecture of our own stories. From childhood, we are given narratives, about who we are, what we can achieve, what we deserve, and what our place in the world should be. We internalize these scripts so completely that we mistake them for reality. We believe the story is the world itself, rather than just one interpretation of it. We become the protagonist in a drama written by our parents, our culture, our past traumas, and our own accumulated fears. We play the part so convincingly that we forget we are actors. We forget there is a stage. We believe the sets are real walls and the props are genuine constraints. The pivotal moment, the day everything changes, arrives when this illusion shatters. It is not a loud, dramatic event. It is a quiet internal cataclysm. It is the realization that you are not just the actor on the stage reading lines from a script you found. You are the playwright. You are the director. You have always been the one writing the dialogue, designing the sets, and directing the action. The narrative of "I'm not good enough," or "this is just the way things are," or "I can never do that" is not a fundamental law of physics. It is a story. And you are the one who has been telling it. This realization is the ultimate transfer of power. It moves the locus of control from outside of you to inside of you. The walls of your limitations are suddenly exposed as stage flats, impressive from a distance, but hollow and easily moved when you finally muster the courage to touch them. The chains of obligation are revealed to be props, with a quick release latch you never noticed. This is the essence of true agency. It is not about suddenly having superhuman strength to break down real walls. It is about the dawning awareness that the walls were never real to begin with. You stop fighting the narrative and simply pick up the pen to write a new one. The past does not change, but its meaning does. It is no longer a pre-written prologue dictating your future. It becomes mere backstory, raw material for the new plot you are now authoring. The day everything changes is the day you move from being a prisoner of your story to being its sovereign author. The true revolution of the day everything changed is that the external world remains stubbornly, almost mockingly, the same. This is a critical and often overlooked aspect of profound transformation. We expect the universe to acknowledge our internal shift with fanfare, for the sun to break through the clouds on cue, for a phone to ring with miraculous news. But the universe is not a collaborator in our melodrama. The coffee machine does not brew a more perfect cup. The commute is no shorter. The same emails sit in your inbox and the same challenges loom on your calendar. The magic of this transformation is not that your circumstances change, but that your relationship to them is reborn. How? The familiar landscape of your life is the same, but you are looking at it with new eyes. It is as if you have been given a new internal operating system. And while all the old files are still there, they no longer have the power to crash the program. The colleague who irritated you yesterday is the same person today, but your reaction to them is now a choice, not a reflex. The problem that seemed insurmountable last week is the same size, but your perception of your own ability to solve it has expanded exponentially. This is the ultimate test of an authentic shift. Its power is proven not by altering the world, but by altering you. The gray sky is no longer a metaphor for your mood. It is simply a weather pattern. The obligations are no longer chains. They are a list of priorities you now feel empowered to manage. The future is no longer a frightening, predetermined track. It is a field of possibilities you are now equipped to navigate. The world has not become easier. You have become stronger. The map has not been redrawn. The navigator has awakened. This is the quiet, unassailable power of this kind of change. Because it is internal, it is impervious to external circumstances. No one can take it from you. No setback can undo it. You carry this new landscape within you, and you can access it no matter what is happening outside your window. The day everything changed was not the day your life got perfect. It was the day you realized you no longer needed it to be. We spend so much of our lives living in a state of low-grade siege, convinced that we are surrounded by walls. These walls have names. I can't afford to take that risk. They would never accept me if they knew the real me. It's too late to start over. We treat these barriers as immutable facts of our existence, solid and load-bearing structures in the architecture of our lives. We test them occasionally, find them unyielding, and retreat. Our belief in our own confinement confirmed. This belief is the very source of our powerlessness. The day everything changes is the day the weather shifts inside you, and a wind of clarity blows through your perception. In that moment, you see the walls for what they are: fog. They are dense, they are intimidating. They can obscure your vision and make it difficult to breathe. But they are not solid. You can walk right through them. This is the fundamental shift. The realization that your primary constraints are not made of brick and mortar, but of thought and emotion. The fear of failure is a fog. The weight of others' expectations is a fog. The shame of past mistakes is a fog. They feel real because they trigger real physiological responses: the racing heart, the tightness in the chest. But their substance is psychological. They are phantoms that gain power only through our belief in their solidity. When this perceptual shift occurs, your entire relationship with challenge transforms. You stop looking for a battering ram to smash the walls and instead simply begin walking. You move forward into the fog of fear, and with each step, it thins. You move through the mist of doubt, and you discover it cannot hold you back. The obligations that felt like chains are suddenly revealed to be choices. You were never locked in. You were just holding on to the links, believing them to be fastened. This doesn't mean the journey becomes easy. Walking through fog is still disorienting, but the nature of the struggle has changed. It is no longer a battle against an immovable external obstacle. It is an act of faith, a persistent forward motion through a temporary, insubstantial barrier. The goal is no longer to find a way around, but to have the courage to move straight through, trusting that the other side exists and that you will emerge not into a different world, but into a clearer version of the one you were always meant to inhabit. We often wait for a catalyst, a dramatic event, a profound piece of advice, a sudden windfall, to serve as the external permission we need to begin our transformation. We imagine a lightning bolt from the sky, a literal sign that tells us, now is the time to change. We give away our power to these imagined future events, believing that our liberation is contingent on something outside of us finally aligning. But the day everything changes is not heralded by a thunderclap. It is announced by a whisper. It begins not with an answer, but with a question. This question is not an intellectual curiosity. It is a quiet, subversive, and deeply personal insurrection against the you have carefully constructed. It is the thought that arrives unbidden in a moment of stillness. What if I am not who I've been telling myself I am? This question is the most powerful tool for change that exists because it does not demand an immediate answer. Simply creates a crack in the foundation of your self-concept. It introduces a sliver of doubt into the unquestioned narrative of your life. What if I am not fundamentally flawed? What if my past does not have to dictate my future? What if the role I play, the responsible one, the broken one, the people pleaser, is just a costume I can take off? This question is the key. It is the simple, overlooked tool you have been carrying in your pocket all along. You didn't need a new key cut. You just needed to remember you had it and then find the courage to try it in the lock. The moment you give this question space to breathe, you initiate a chain reaction. The story you have lived by begins to unravel, not because it is attacked, but because it is no longer blindly accepted. You move from being the main character in a fixed story to being the curious reader who's just noticed the book is full of plot holes. And a curious reader can become a revolutionary author. The external catalysts we long for, the new job, the perfect partner, the financial security, are often just the rewards we receive after we have dared to ask the question and begun acting from a new, more authentic place. They are the effects, not the causes, of true change. So the work is not to wait for the right conditions. The work is to cultivate the quiet necessary to hear the question. And then, with a heart full of both terror and possibility, to let it in. Your day of change will not be marked on the calendar by a holiday or a headline. It will be the day a single silent question became the most important sound in your world.